Right then, Jed, welcome to Featherstone Rovers. Just tell us how you've settled in. What are your initial thoughts?
Yeah, settled in really well. Obviously, it's great being back with Paul. Like two peas in a pod, or two brothers from different wombs. But yeah, it's great back working with him, and then obviously exciting to be working the personnel that we've got on the books of the club. So yeah, settled in really well. Obviously transitioning with a few system changes. But yeah, it's taken its time, slow progression. But yeah, we're getting there.
I'm sure the fans would like to get to know you a bit more, Jed. Tell us about your time as a player and latterly as a coach.
Yeah, signed professional at 15, Halifax. Was there for a number of years. Left there, went to France on my first stint. Came back and then went around. Went to Dewsbury. Stayed at Sheffield for 5 or 6 years. Yeah, did a year at Oldham. Went back to Toulouse, and then that's when I retired due to injury. Obviously on the back of my international schedule as well, but retired after the last year at Toulouse, and then obviously got straight into coaching. I was at Sheffield with Mark, former player at the club, ironically, and then did a big stint with him, 10, 12 years, and then opened my own wings, and then started doing what was best for me in terms of my coaching career.
And what are your philosophies on the game, Jed? How do you like to see the game being played, and what do you expect from your players?
Honesty. I think if you haven't got trust, you can't have any of them morals and ethoses. You know, if you've not got no trust, you've got no honesty, you haven't got mutual respect. But, you know, what I expect from me playing personally is just honesty. You know, as coaches, we pride ourselves on being honest, especially myself and Paul and Hardo and Mez and stuff. And, you know, we pride ourselves being honest with them, being transparent. Transparency is key to everything. Just hard working, you know, effort-based stuff. You know, the little 1%ers that I think separates us from everybody else. You know, once the boys understand what those 1%ers are, that they can pride themselves on the effort areas, then, you know, we won't go wrong or won't go miss as the season goes on. But, you know, I love an expansive game. What I deem as an, you know, attractive rugby is I love an attractive style of a game, expansive attacking shape. But for me to do that, yeah, it's all about defence. Defence wins games for me. Although it's not reflecting at this moment in time where we're at, but defence wins games. You know, you've got to be ruthless. You've got to want to put your body in front of people. You've got to want to hit to hurt. You know, and it is difficult at this moment in time because the rule changes within the game and where the game's at with the HIA stuff. But within that, you know, it still doesn't stop you putting yourself in front of people and wanting to, you know, physically get amongst it. But yeah, and we can change that as the season goes on.
And as you've touched on, I'm sure you're delighted to be teaming up again with Paul. It's a good partnership that's evolved, obviously. Tell us in what way you complement each other as coaches.
It's a good question. We think very alike. We're very you know, we're very aligned in our thought processes in terms of, you know, style of play, defensive philosophies. But what I admire about Paul and, you know, what people admire about me personally is how transparent we are. You know, how honest. What we expect is what we deliver for our players. You know, we work hard in the background. We focus and pride ourselves on those 1%ers of detail. So all that information that we're giving to the players, you know. So yeah, no, we're very similar in terms of philosophies, and just easy, happy come, easy go blokes, mate. That just want players that want to be here and represent this prestigious club.
And looking back to last Sunday, it was a bit of a tough watch, wasn't it, for the fans? What are your considered thoughts a few days on from the game?
You know, it's easy saying we put it to bed on Tuesday after the review, but it still hurts, and it should hurt. And if it hurts us as coaches, you know, and that's where we're challenging the players, it still should hurt the players. You know, and I sympathise with the fans and the frustration at this moment in time with the transition. You know, players out where we want them to be. You know, they're not where they want to be. But you know, it's also hard to play this game when you've got no recognised halves, and the lads that are in there and are playing are doing a tremendous job, or at least trying. But again, where we want more and, you know, demand more is that we've got to be better defensively, and the points conceded against Halifax was unacceptable. You know, if we can keep working hard and keep that mindset of working hard, but just work smarter, rather than exerting energy in the wrong areas, you know, we can go harder for longer and go to the deep end of the games and close out games.
Is there any likely movement on the injury front this week?
The potential, Benny's flying. Benny's doing really well, mate. You know, to be honest, we're having to try and put a leash and a muzzle on him to hold him back, because he's really enthusiastic about coming back. But that's what you want, you know, for such a great club and for a great bloke and a great player. You know, we're really excited about having him back. So yeah, just got to be respectful to him and his injury, and make sure that when he is back, then he's a big part of what we're doing for the remainder of the season. Rocky's not far off. He should be with us next week, which is again is exciting, because he's absolutely training the house down. But again, respectfully looking after him, not bringing him in too soon, get the return right. So again, we've got longevity with that. But yeah, Gadwin's not a million miles away either. He's back on feet. So again, next week could be an option for him. Torbs is off to see a specialist. Carlos has just had a scan, so we'll get the results and get the info off the back of them over the duration of today and over the weekend, and then yeah, hopefully we'll know when they're in contention. But yeah, things are starting to look up, mate. You know, recruitment, you know, overseeing what we can bring in. We brought Nathan Wilding this week, which is a big asset to us in terms of, again, how he competes, you know, his effort areas, what he prides himself on, and there's no coincidence that he's that Super League calibre player because of what he presents and what he delivers on. So hopefully, fingers crossed, in the next week or two, we'll have a few quality additionals back in that 17.
I noticed Jaden Hatton was named in the squad today. He's back, is he? For this
yeah,
week?
Unfortunately, he missed out due to an illness. He had a virus, which, you know, he's a tough kid. He's a tough bloke. He prides himself on doing the tough stuff, and he's a great player for this team. He's a true asset. But we had to look after him and not be foolish and play him while he's crook, and then he breaks, and then we're out. He's out for another month. So he's back in contention this week, and hopefully we'll get him back in that centre spot, back out on that team this week.
And it's another tough one this weekend as the Bulls visit the Millennium Stadium. Both teams approach the game on the back of 3 straight defeats, which is surprising. The dire injury situation in our camp suggests that Bradford might just start as firm favourites. How do you see it?
Yeah, they're a big physical, thick side, aren't they? They've got size and strength and brute force, but they're in the trenches as well. They've lost Tom Holmes, from what I believe, for the remainder of the season with a pec injury, torn pec. But again, the quality across their park, like ours, they're in a bit of a rut and a ditch like us. But the only way we'll pull ourselves out against such a big physical team this week is we pull together and go shoulder to shoulder. You can't keep digging. You've got to help each other out and go toe to toe. And I admired Barrow, the way they went about the business last week at Bradford, and they went into the phone box and fought toe to toe and came out on their side. So big firm believer that you create your own look and the rub of the green and the bounce of the ball by just having a bit of intent and a bit of purpose about how you go about it. So in terms of our expectations and what the fan can expect, we're hoping the boys will go toe to toe and have a dig and embrace that physical challenge, and then put a few balls on the backs.
And there's an extra incentive this weekend, of course, in that the teams will be competing for the Peter Fox Memorial Trophy. So there's a trophy to be had. Peter, he was arguably the most successful coach in the history of both Featherstone and Bradford. We won it last time, and I'm sure the lads will want to retain it, won't they?
Yeah, the points are an incentive enough, but if that's not a motivation within itself as a club legend, then I don't know what is. And then the pressure of having to retain that, it's there. That's what big players and they want to play in those big games and those high pressure scenarios. So let's hope that incentivises them even more off the back of a great week's preparation, and hopefully we can come out on the right side with a great result and get the fans smiling.
And have you got a final message for the fans, Jed?
Yeah, thank you for the warm welcome. Firstly, it's been a warm embrace from the fans that have taken the time to come and speak, and just be patient with us. Just be patient with the transition. Once we get the full troops back out in the field, then that's when I think we can be truly judged and we can be critiqued. But stay with us, trust the process, be patient. Keep that passion, keep that noise on the sideline. It feeds, gives them that bit of energy that they need when they're in the rut. But be patient and trust the process and stay with us because we need you. Thank you.